Welcome to the inaugural episode of Skins in the Burg podcast. As promised, we're going to start this thing off with a post game show, the game that just wrapped up. Unfortunately, we get to start this off with a win and with a special treat. We got a special guest today in our inaugural episode. She's been a Commanders fan my whole life, pretty knowledgeable. I don't think has missed a game and I don't know how long. Always got some pretty good and strong opinions as it relates to not only the Commanders, but the game of football in general. And that person is none other than my mom, Patricia Gray. Everybody welcome Patricia Gray to the episode. How you doing, Mom?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing pretty good. It's been a long time since we got a chance to see victory, to see a kneel down in our favor.
No.
So I'm a little pleased by that. I want to start the episode off with a segment we call "What Did I Just See?" or I'm sorry, "What I Just Saw." What I just saw, and I'll start it off by saying what I just saw. I think was one of those classic examples where somebody's got to win. Two not so great teams, probably whose fan bases are really competing at this point for draft status. But, I was tired of the losing. I'm glad, we finally in the win column. All that tanking and all that to me is when you're trying to get a new quarterback, and we've already got ours, so I needed to see some wins. What did you see today?
I don't know so much if it was two teams, trying to get the win. Kind of, even though it ebbed and flowed, I kind of thought the momentum from the beginning was mostly with the Commanders. Even though there were some shaky moments. But
Yeah,
I'm
go
not a
ahead,
fan of
sir.
tanking either. I mean, if you can remember, I wasn't even a fan of tanking when the prize was Jaden Daniels. As a fan, I always want to win. There you go.
I get it. I get that. I do think there's a unique time and place. I mean, if you can set your franchise up for the next 10 years, I mean, it's much more favorable to do that. But I get it. I get a fan not wanting to root for any losses. What I still haven't seen this year is the Commanders come out the gate. I know they started out 13 to nothing, but I mean, come out the gate first drive like they mean business and then execute with a touchdown. I can't recall all the games, but I don't think I've seen that yet. It always kind of starts off a little, I don't know, a little iffy. They started with a field goal drive, and then first play on defense, they give up a 20-yard pass, then a penalty, and it looked like it was about to be one of those games again. Fortunately, like I said, we weren't playing the greatest of teams, and the defense did have one of their better performances, at least this this half of the season. So they were able to turn it around quickly. But what did you think about that start?
Well, I'll start on offense. Yeah, needless penalty. I don't know why they can't get those in hand, but I guess they're gonna happen. So yeah, I was kind of disappointed in that first drive, ending up in a field goal. But hey, it was the first time we scored first in I can't even remember how many games, but it was a lot. But that our first defensive stand, my question was, hey, who is Antonio Hamilton? Had you seen him or heard his name?
Heard his name on other shows before. I'm not familiar with him at all or his game, but I heard his name called several times throughout the day. I mean, after that first play, like you said, I had a couple of times actually wondering, not just with Hamilton, but a couple of other guys wondering who they
Yeah,
were. I think even the opening
yeah.
kickoff, I said, who? Because that wasn't Jalen Lane. So yeah, they got a couple of guys that I was unfamiliar with, and Hamilton was definitely one of them. But he made his presence known throughout the game. I will say
He
that.
did. He did.
Now, before I get into this, jump into this next segment, I did have one question early. If you can somehow take your mind off of what eventually happened in the game and go back to that first drive when they started out and we heard pregame that Rodriguez wasn't going to play. So when they started their first drive out with McNichols, I'm curious to know, what you thought about that because I, for one, once that happened, I said, what in the world's up with Bill? And at least what's up with Bill in terms of what the coaches feel about him that Rodriguez don't play and then he still doesn't start. If you can compartmentalize back to that first drive and give me your thoughts on what you saw, what you were thinking when you saw McNichols.
I wasn't that surprised really. Bill had been a tad bit shaky. He was getting it together a little more in the last game, but he had been a tad bit shaky, almost like he was, you know, in a little timeout or whatever. I can't think of the word for what I really want to say. But yeah, I wasn't surprised to see McNichols because of Bill's former play.
Okay. All right.
And I guess a little bit though, I had no idea Rodriguez wasn't going to play. So when I saw it, flash up on the TV is when I knew it. And I was like, what? And I probably was still, thinking about that. Like, why is he not playing? And it looks like some kind of trumped up injury.
Yeah, I hadn't heard anything coming out. Now I've been quite busy at work, but I hadn't heard anything coming out about an injury. I think I did see a did not practice on one of those days, but I might have thought it was like a veteran day or something. But yeah, that did surprise me. But I for one was surprised that Bill didn't they didn't trot him out there. If I used past history, I probably wouldn't have been surprised because it seemed like they've been kind of trying to move around him since probably that first quarter of the season. But I want to get into this next segment. Something I'm gonna start calling triple delight, and that's any three things you liked, whether it's players, coaches, a coaching decision, a particular play that happened in the game. Can you think of any three things that really pleased you in the game?
Okay, I guess the first one was that Antonio Hamilton play. That was like, okay, well, who are you? And welcome. Sit down, have a seat. But also, I'm kind of looking through my notes here. At the point where I think this must have been the fifth drive, I was kind of surprised at that three and out. I like that by the defense. And I guess if we want to say, I guess this would kind of be my third, or at least one of three favorite plays. Got to be that touchdown to McLaurin. You know for yourself how I have my doubts about him, but yeah, I like that. Looked like he had
Interesting.
some real hustle on that play.
Yeah. Yeah, that I enjoyed that as well. I'm surprised right now that we didn't in a segment where we're called Triple Delight, where you there's 3 things you liked. I'm surprised we're not gonna have any repeats. I thought maybe we have a little bit of overlap in terms of what we like, but I've got all different things on what I like, but I do like everything that you just mentioned. My first thing that I liked was it's starting to look like Lane might be a legitimate punt return weapon. This is second TD of the season. I don't know how many other ones that he almost took back or like was one cut away. He looks like a legitimate threat, and I mean that's something that we haven't had, at least consistent play out of since the days of Brian Mitchell. So I'm excited about that moving forward. I am excited about the results. Once they did feed Bill, once he came in and filled in nicely. And then this isn't one of the things I liked, but since I spoke on Bill McNichols, he always seems to have at least one play where it's third and we ain't gonna get it, but he ends up getting it somehow. But I digress. Yeah, Bill being the second thing I liked, and then I was about to include the kicker until he missed that extra point. I was
Hey,
about to say we might have found one, and then he missed that extra point, but I might be jumping the gun on that. My last thing that I did like was it seemed like Kingsbury did have a little more of a commitment to the run game. Um, Play action passes seemed to make sense at the time. They didn't seem to be play actions for no reason, against a formidable D line like the Giants with all those number one picks. I'm glad to see he didn't just stubbornly drop back continuously like he seems to, started leaning towards doing with Jaden a lot. So I was excited about him being more committed to the run game, and then, those timely passes and those timely play action moments where you would catch the D off guard. And I don't know why he doesn't lean more heavy on that, because when he does, those nice pass plays seem to be a bit more wide open when they commit to the run game. I was tired of seeing, game after game where DBs are plastered to our receivers and they just keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. So I think that run game really opened up the pass game in this particular game. Next segment though I want to introduce is going to be called Come On Slim. Come on, Slim, and it's a segment where you list what you didn't like. It doesn't have to be 3 things. It could be 1, it could be 3, but something in particular that really got under your skin in the game that you thought that, hey, we can't have that in a professional football setting.
Well, there was a part in the game, I think this was around after the Jalen, well, after the Jalen Lane, TD. But I may have this, I may not have this whole play right, but this is really not a come on, and this is more of a come on, not again. When it looked like Tunsil was hurt, I was like, oh, man, are you kidding me? Do we have to have a starter go out every single game? And I know that's not exactly what you're looking for, but that stuck with me. It was like, not again, really?
I would think
But
that qualifies as a come on, Slim, in my mind. However, I mean, especially since I don't think he returned to the game, did he? He didn't return to the game?
he returned once, but then he left out again. But you
Yeah,
know
I mean,
what?
I'm still concerned.
Yeah, I didn't hear the injury report, so the Tunsil is a big dude. It's a big dude. But anyway, there were a couple of times. I think one was the second half when the Giants got the ball, and we just seem to do this. We kind of hold them on the first and second down, and then sometimes even the third down because they made some fourth down. But then our when we can't get off the fall, it's such a massive play. You know what I mean? Like, okay, this is not that hard to hold them on this, and we don't. It's not anything that seems like it's close, you know, like we almost got them, or it's always like massive. Like, really, that's really the one of the come on slims for me in that game is you should have had them. You had them. You had them dead to right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can agree. But I mean, and to me, that's been a problem for some years now. It seemed like third and long, we got to be the worst third and long team. Like, I don't, I'd be curious to see. I know they have this number out there as far as your third down efficiency and how you rate at third down. I'd be curious to see if they have how we rate at third and long, particularly in the last few years. I'm reminded of the Tampa game where is it Tampa game? Yeah, 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 yeah. It's definitely the Tampa game where we no, the Atlanta game last year to get to the playoffs, the game where we won to get to the playoffs. But we had something like a third and goal. It might have even been a fourth and goal from the 26, and they actually converted a touchdown on that to the tight
Yeah,
end,
I remember
and
that. Yeah.
it was just devastating. It's like,
Yeah. How you let that happen?
yeah, it's really ridiculous. But since you bring up third down, this isn't a come on, Slim, but in response to your third down critique, I thought it was even more times today where we got off the field with third down, but the refs could have called something. I mean, I saw a couple of times where the announcers called it sticky coverage, and handsy, I called it pass interference. Is what I called it a couple of times actually. But hey, it got us off the field, so I didn't do much complaining. But if you see those calls all the time, some calls that they didn't make.
Mm.
I'm not saying they should have made them, but you see those calls all the time, and they affect the
You're right.
game. They definitely affect our games in the past. but they didn't blow the whistle, so I guess it didn't happen.
Right.
Did you have any
But
more
kind of,
come on Slims?
but kind,
I'm sorry.
yeah, kind of like to what you just said. This is just a little something I noticed about Hamilton. So, that first play that he made, he holds his hands up like, I didn't interfere. Nobody said you did. Keep your hands down. I thought you didn't. And he did that one more time. Got his hands up like, you gonna say I interfere? Hey, come on. Just keep your hands down. Like if anything, pat yourself on the chest. Like, yeah, I just stopped him. You need to stop that. That might get you a flag.
Oh, you're right. You're right. A couple times I saw him and a couple of his compadres in the secondary, like looking around, like, oh, hey, you did he call it? Did he?
Right, right,
Oh,
right,
okay, we good.
right. Come on now. Let's do some better acting than that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. You have any more come on Slims before I get into mine?
Yeah, I did have one more.
Okay.
This is this was the possession. I have it as possession 16. I think it probably was. Okay, well, where this was a fourth down, the Giants had the ball, and the play that they called for this fourth down, I was like, man, what a terrible play. And the other announcer, I can't think of what his name was, he even said, I don't like that play, but they made it. Come on, man. You have a play where it's kind of like this ain't gonna work, and it works against your defense. Come on. I think that was the because I'm looking at my notes. Um, I said typical commander defense. Announcer doesn't like the play. I don't like it either, but they still made it. And at that point, there was no momentum going going on either side of the ball for the commander. And I was kind of thinking a tie is about to happen, but it didn't.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I actually agree, and I agree. That's a come on Slim. Our defense is I don't know. I don't know what to say about it. And I don't even know if we can even. And this may not be fair. I don't know. I mean, I've got to see it against. I mean, when the last time have we seen a Commander's defense play well against a good, efficient playoff team offense? I mean, when's the last time we seen a good defensive game against an offensive team? I can't even recall it, to be honest with you. I can't even recall it.
I kind of think that I could have this wrong in my head that the Chargers game. I know people were talking about some kind of injuries on the Chargers team at that point, but I didn't think it was any more than injuries we had. And I kind of think they handled things pretty decent in that game.
They did. They did.
But today, but today's defense kind of reminded me of 2024 defense. That bend, don't break. Opportune times where the defense kind of stood up like that Samuel Still INT. So it kind of reminded me of last year's defense. This game on.
Yeah, yeah. And speaking of Sanders, still, it's interesting you brought him up because after I said I don't remember the last time, not that they shut them down, but it was a pretty decent defensive performance against Detroit because Detroit, had been pretty high powered and they turned them over. I think it was 4 or 5 times. I know Golf, was he had a bad game. He was responsible for it, but we did actually go get those turnovers as well, and Sanders was a big part of it. And he had the pick today and the almost pick in the end zone. He
Yeah.
seems to he seems to be what do you call that when you I guess a feast of famine type of guy
Streaky. Yeah,
where he's
streaky.
gonna get burnt or he gonna make a play. And
Yeah.
um he really does have a knack for the football. And that was his specialty in Michigan too, making critical plays at crucial times. I still haven't seen the type of performance that garnered Nick Saban's praise as the best pick in that draft that year. I haven't seen nowhere near that type of ability yet. But hey, corners sometimes take some time, as we know,
That's what I was
with the
gonna
whole
say.
Forbes saga. My
Yeah, I think he has potential. I think, this is just the second year. I could see him, you know, climbing up the ladder.
hopefully, hopefully, my come on Slim first and foremost is, and I know he made some other plays, but I'm I'm kind of leaning towards go ahead and let Debo walk. He had some critical drops at some critical times, and I'm not sure like and if you could, if you somehow, got a discount, okay, cool. But the kind of money that he's going to command just being, one of the bigger free agents when the season ends, I don't know if you pay that money for that production. I mean, he can't really get away from guys. Yeah, he plays with some toughness. He's made a few plays, but he's made some critical drops this season. Critical drops this season, and that's the one thing I need is I need you to catch the ball. I don't
Yeah.
need you to be Randy Moss. I don't need you to be T.O., but I need you to catch the ball, especially on third down in those critical moments. And he's been disappointing in that regard. So I know you're going to disagree with this statement, but as of right now, I say go ahead and let Debo walk and go get Ayuk.
Well, you know what? How many times for a game do you hear um one of the announcers say Debo should have had that ball? I heard it at least 3 times today. But I don't know. If you're gonna do that, if you're gonna let him walk, yeah, you gotta have somebody pretty respectable to replace them. You gotta have a replacement in mind. You gotta have a plan if you're gonna let him walk. You can't be just a hope it. You better have a good plan if you're gonna let him walk.
I mean, I think you need a plan for anything that you do in the off season. I don't think you go into it without a plan and a plan, not just a plan, but a plan B and a plan C in any off season. But I just the kind of money I think he's going to get, I think you stay away from that versus his production. And to your point, you plan what you're going to do otherwise. You got Terry under contract, you got Jalen Lane under contract, you got McCaffrey coming back. But as I said 30 seconds ago, I got a plan.
Do we really want that? Do we really want that drama?
I don't know. I mean, the drama can get a little uncomfortable when it comes to these receivers. I mean, you've seen what Brown has brought to Philly. You've seen what T.O. brought to Philly previously. You've seen all these guys with the bad attitudes. But I'm at a point now where like that production that comes with the attitude, like I'm trying to see some of that. Philly did win the Super Bowl last year. And T.O. was prolific and Randy was prolific. I'm ready to see some of that. Uh, and I know that it kind of goes against what my my previous points have been as far as you don't need a prolific receiver to win the Super Bowl. But if he's not going, if he's 100% healthy, I don't think we've had that kind of talent probably since Randy Moss. I'm sorry, since Santana Moss. And I'm it's a real disappointing season with especially at that receiver position where guys just could not get away from DBs.
Mm.
And you didn't see it's a season where you didn't see anybody open until today, which was impressive how wide open some guys were. But again, I alluded to that being due to them not giving up on the run game. But I like to see some receivers be able to win some one-on-one matchups and really make some plays. And maybe that's not Ayuk. Maybe they find a gem in somebody else. I don't know what happened to one-handed catch guy. I didn't hear his name called a lot
Yeah,
today.
yeah.
So I,
What's
I
he
don't
even
I don't know what
playing?
happened to him.
You did hear his name though? I don't even recall hearing his name or seeing him, but I could be wrong.
Yeah,
But
I definitely don't recall.
but
But
another thing about IU though, which is the main thing, I was kind of hearing since he's been out that this injury might be a little bit more to this than routine, and that might be a concern.
I've heard similar. I've heard similar. And again, if that's the case, then you stay away from it. I mean, if it's remotely the case, if he's not 100% healthy, if you can't work him out and he's looking and these guys know what he look like, especially our GM, especially our well, not that our quarterback's gonna be doing any kind of evaluating. Adam Peters knows what it should look like, especially with IU. If they have an opportunity to work him out, put it this way, I definitely wouldn't be doing you know how they execute a trade and then they have the physical. I wouldn't be doing none of that. I definitely would I would it would require me to get my hands on him first before I made any kind of legitimate offers. But I don't even know what his status is going if they're going to cut him because they can release him now without penalty due to whatever that thing was they did, whatever mechanism they did in rescinding some type of roster bonus or whatever. So I don't know what his status is going into the off season, but if they have an opportunity to get their hands on him and he looks healthy and he looks the same, I'd say it's worth pursuing. But to your point, I have heard similar and I don't think you wanna touch him if his leg is shattered, and that's unfortunate for the guy too. I mean, he was on his way to stardom. He gets into that contract dispute and, behaved poorly, some might say, and then finally does get the money and might not ever see the money. That's that's disappointing.
Yeah.
Now one more another come on Slim that I've got is, I mean, why can't we find the next Aubrey? Just a kicker who wasn't even kicking. Ends up being a record breaker because we just can't get kicking right. I mean, he did some good things in the Meadowlands. I know it's tricky out there with that wind and all that, but I mean, I even would have taken him miss a couple of those field goals if he makes his extra point. It's such a momentum killer when you take one back to the house and then they miss the ensuing extra point. It just takes the life out of the touchdown. I mean, that's
It
to
does.
me, I don't care that they moved it back 5, 6, 8 years ago, however long it was. You gotta make it extra points. Point blank period, you gotta make it extra points.
Yeah. And I kind of thought that the field goal, which kind of made up for that, came pretty quickly after that. I don't know if that was that a turnover or turnover on downs or something like that. But I think it kind of, you know, picked it up, kind of made up for that missed point.
Yeah. Okay. So were you did you have any more slims to point out, or you good on a come on slim?
What about a come on them for the other side? Every time my boy Jameis comes in, I root for him, and then he makes a come on them play. But yeah, that was a kind of come on them. But I love me some Jameis.
He's hard not to love, Jameis, but since you did bring it up with every time he comes in, another thing, um, uh, on back to our side, it appears to me that Mariota, he's got at least 1 or 2 come on slim plays in him per game.
Yeah,
I mean, he'll do some
yeah,
spectacular things and look like he's turning the corner, and then he'll just do something where you say, "My man, what did you do?"
exactly. Yes,
Even
and
one of
for
those
people,
throwaways looked like he was about to get another pick from one of those throwaways that was like a dead duck going towards the sidelines, but he always makes one play that's like, man, if you just eliminate those, I mean, you might have a chance to be a starter in this league if you just eliminate those, but that seems to be his MO now.
yeah,
So I want to move into the next segment, a segment called That's Cap, where I ask you three actually I make three statements and you respond with whether or not you think that's facts or you think that's cap. So first statement I'm gonna make is due to the injuries, what we're gonna do this off season, pertaining to the coaching staff, is just run that back. Because our head coach and Adam Peters, they're looking at it, they're evaluating, they're seeing that we had guys hurt, and it's really not fair to, the coaches did their thing, coaches did their job, but they didn't anticipate coaching guys who came off the street. They didn't anticipate coaching third and fourth stringers. So if we can get a little bit of better luck next year in terms of injuries, we'll have better results. So there's no need to do anything whatsoever to the coaching staff. What say you? Oh, did we lose it? Looks like we might have lost my mom. Looks like we might have lost her. But the look on her face did indicate that thought that was Cap. I I see now that you're back. I was saying looked like we lost you, but the screen was actually frozen on a look that you had, and the look that you had on your face that was frozen right there on the screen indicated that I think your answer is going to be that that's Cap.
Okay, I didn't even hear the first one.
I'm sorry.
I didn't hear the first one.
Okay, okay. What my statement was, this is the statement, and I'm not saying what side of the fence I sit with this statement, but if I just make the statement to you that Adam Peters and Dan Quinn, when they evaluate this season, they're going to see all the injuries. They're going to they're going to see that they didn't anticipate coaching the players that they coached, and our coaching staff, just from a coaching standpoint, not even dealing with personnel, they're going to come back 100% intact with no changes because Peters and the head coach is going to look at this season as injury riddled, and there was nothing we could possibly do. And hopefully, we got better luck next season in terms of the injury bug, and we bring back 100% of our coaching staff. What say you?
I say we will. So that's fact. What was it? It was a cap versus fact. But I say we will, but not for the reason you tacked on the end of that. I say we will because we still got a little bit more money in the bank from 2024.
Bold take. I believe, a la Joe Gibbs in 2005. I believe Dan Quinn is going to come back with a new defensive coordinator.
Okay. You know what? Okay. I don't think Witt is coming back either. So I kind of have been looking at him as if he's already gone. But he does count toward that. So yeah, yeah, you're right.
So,
Yeah.
okay, but you saying Witt is gone? Do you think there's a chance Witt is gone, and then Dan Quinn is running the defense as a defensive head coach, or do you think Witt is gone and they bring in somebody from the outside to run the defense, a different defense than what they've been running the last 2 years?
I don't really know, but I sure hope that we can land a defensive star. Like what's Cleveland? Who is Cleveland's defensive coordinator? He's been around the block a few times.
Got me there. I'm not familiar.
I
I
think
don't know who.
he used to be a head coach, maybe for Detroit or somebody like that. Then I think he went to Philly, and now he's holding it down. That's the only good thing about the Browns. Well, okay, kind of a Shador fan, but what's his name? I wish I could look it up right quick. Schwartz, Jim Schwartz.
Yes, yes, yes. Schwartz is
Now, if we could get a Jim Schwartz, man, that would be great. But I would be so disappointed if we got another defensive coach and it's like oh, really? That's who we got. And I kind of get the feeling that it might come down to that if we go for another defensive coach, because everybody seems to think that Quinn does not want to be the defensive coordinator. That he doesn't want to be the defensive coordinator. He doesn't want to be the play caller.
so you're not interested at all in trying to find out if whether or not you got the next young star on your staff like that DB coach or or even the DB coach in Dallas that they tried to bring with them when this staff tried to bring with them, but I think Jerry blocked them, their DB coach down there. But basically, you're saying you want some already established guy that's a star defensive coordinator as we speak. You want that guy brought in to the organization. You don't want to discover the next big guy.
Now, I'm not opposed to the, if we got somebody on our staff that we could give a fair, that we could give a chance. I'm not opposed to that. I guess out of those three choices, the main thing I'm opposed to is going out and getting a mediocre, already established defensive coordinator. That's what I'm opposed to. But no, I'm not opposed to giving somebody a shake on that's already on the staff. Too many people have walked away and been successful.
Okay. All right. Next statement, factor cap. In burgundy and gold, we have seen the last of Eckler, Ertz, and Wagner. Factor cap.
That's a rough one that kind of pulls on the heartstrings. But I kind of think that it needs to be fact. It may not be, but probably needs to be. But if it comes down to that, I hope at least one of them gets hired on the coaching staff.
I wasn't prepared for in the last episode of Hard Knocks. They did a segment on Ertz in anticipate. Well, no, I can't say in anticipation because you don't know that he's getting hurt. I shouldn't say that, but they actually had a focus on Ertz in the guess the practice part of the week where they're in the team facilities, and they really honed in on Ertz, and then ultimately he gets hurt. What I wasn't ready for though was his reaction. I know I should have been, but his reaction very much so, like, said, you know, just like that, that might have been my career. I may have to end up hanging it up because he was bawling. I mean, he was in tears,
Uh,
bawling, and I wasn't ready for that. The Wagner thing is one of those, is one of those things I go back to what you said about having a plan. I don't think playing Wagner 100% of the snaps at middle linebacker, I don't think that can possibly be the plan. But I don't know if you just let him go without a plan, without a solid plan at middle linebacker either, because I don't think it's on their team right now, especially from a leadership standpoint, and then what he does still in the run game. But I mean, in the pass game, forget about it. I mean, he's a liability for sure in the pass game, and that's what ends careers when you can't when you no longer have the speed and you can't keep up with these tight ends, you can't keep up with nobody. That pretty much what ends careers. So I'm gonna jump out there and I'm gonna say that that's fact. I think we probably seen the last of those three. I think there's going to be a series, and I can get more into it on later episodes when we start to talk about the off season. But I just my early prognosis is that we'll see a serious facelift of the roster this year.
yeah, I think so too. But I think because we need a serious facelift, and there probably will be one, there'll probably be plenty of controversy coming along with it.
Yeah, and so for the last point, you being my mama, of course, you get the last word. So I'll make one last point and just say how disappointing, just overall this season has been to come off of so many seasons of losing, 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 and then have a season like last year. This year brought, a lot of anticipation, a lot of promise, and it was probably, probably I don't know that you could have a worse result other than like a serious catastrophic injury to the quarterback. But some other guys did have serious catastrophic injuries. We've had so many games where we weren't even competitive. They were over before they started. Good thing we won the day. But yeah, it's one of the more disappointing seasons I can remember because a lot of apathy has set in over the years with so much losing. But that winning season last year and the quarterback and the way we won, really made this a season to anticipate, and it just didn't happen. But hopefully we can have a great offseason and turn it right back around like Cincinnati did in Joe Burrow's 3rd year. What you got for your last word of the day?
So, in response to that, it's been more than a disappointment to me. It's been bitter. Bitter, I can't say bittersweet, but like it's just been, you know, I look at teams like, now I'm rooting. for Caleb Williams. But just seeing their turnaround, seeing New England, and who is it? Who else is out there that's kind of seeing? I don't know if anything will come of it, but seeing uh Carolina is just and hearing what people say. What it was just the same things they were saying about us, and it's just man, it's just bitter to me. Injuries. What can you do? So, as far as next season is concerned, I want to kind of see. I don't know if this needs to be from I know it needs to be from the fan perspective, from the reporting perspective, even from the type of media that the team puts out. I kind of want us to be in. We need to bring it before we can bring all the accolades. I don't want to see during the off season all these shorts of Jaden throwing bombs to somebody and setting us up, for another another disappointment. Because one of the things I think that drove the season last year was there was some fantastic media that kind of got you, into the season, pumped you up, and I want them to lay a little low and take the attitude that we got to bring it. You know, we just got to bring it. Our proof got to be on the field. I don't know what they're gonna do about preseason because preseason people say they need to play more, but preseason injuries absolutely stink. I wish they would do away with the preseason altogether. But so I don't know what they're gonna do with preseason. But whatever they do, they need to have a solid plan for getting the team ready. A solid plan. And for evaluating their readiness, you know. So that's my last word on it. Except for this. Wouldn't it be
Okay.
great though if we finished off the rest of our division opponents?
Oh yeah, yeah. That would be fantastic. And your last word sparked a couple of things in me, but I'm gonna leave it at that because I called it the last word. So I'm gonna leave it at that, and I'm gonna save them for future episodes. But yes, yes, um, I'll take it. I shouldn't say I'll take it. I would have liked going to the Super Bowl this year, but if we can do Dallas dirty, and we can do the Eagles dirty, yeah, you know that would at least provide a little something going into the off season. Yeah.
Right. There you
All
go.
right. Well, I want to thank everybody for tuning in to the inaugural episode. I know it was the first one, and the first one is not going to be it's not going to look like it's going to look in next year sometime. I'm going to make some improvements. But I got the first one under the belt. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I want to thank my mom for joining me in the first episode. But we're gonna try to have some good content, try to have some good reactions, get into the off seasons as that starts to approach, and see if we can keep this thing interesting, even though it looks like it's just gonna be another one of those seasons. But again, thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next week.